On August 3rd, 2025, the Kruger Street Toy and Train Museum in Wheeling, West Virginia unveiled its latest exhibit, which showcases the original molds from ideal toys used to produce the Rubik's Cube. But where did these historic tools come from? Fortunately for us, Jay Horowitz of American Plastic Equipment, the owner of the molds, shared that story with us at the unveiling, and today we're going to share that story with you.
Good afternoon. What a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the acquisition of the rights to the Rubik's Cube molds, the Rubik's Cube rights, and Ideal Toy Company. Well, CBS became hugely successful. Mr. Sarnoff was the owner, eventually became public. David Sarnoff was still owner, president, CEO. And in the 1960s, his financial advisors come to, not Sarnoff, excuse me, Mr. Paley. Mr. Paley, you've got serious financial issue here. He says, what's the issue? You've got too much cash. I wish I had that problem. I had too much cash. What do you mean you had too much cash? Well, CBS was doing very well and he had a lot of cash. I mean, it was doing very, very, very well. We're talking in the 1960s. We remember CBS television. I mean, today we've got 1,000 channels and nothing to look at. In those days, we had 2 or 3 channels, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the public. And from 3 or 4 channels, we had to decide what to watch because we didn't have video recorders I'll watch it and see it later. I'll tape it and see it later. So I had to decide, am I going to watch CBS or am I going to watch NBC? Well, we're watching CBS, and his financial advisors say, we've got serious financial problems. What is it? Too much cash. I really wish I had that problem. Well, the financial advisor said, the solution is diversify. You shouldn't have all your cash in radio and television. Because what if, and what if, and what if? And the financial advisors, too much cash, diversify. Well, Mr. Paley was very intelligent. He diversified within the entertainment field. So they had CBS Records, which became the world's largest. You know, including like Barbra Streisand and a lot of names that they signed them up. They had, Clive Davis was in charge. He was #1 in the music industry. Not then. He was a young attorney. They put him in charge. But he's the one that developed CBS Records and became the world's largest. And they signed up all these stuff. So they did very well with CBS Records. Then they had CBS Publishing. And they did very well with CBS Publishing. And then in the 60s, somebody came up and said, toys would be interesting to invest in. Toys is entertainment, but not with a program, with a product. So let's get into the toy business. And CBS started to buy a lot of toy companies. And instead of using the original names of the toy companies, they put it under the brand CBS Toys. And one of the purchases they made, Gabriel Brothers, that you probably recognize, Gabriel Brothers, the president of Gabriel Brothers was Jerome Fryer. And Jerome Fryer, and I'm going to say this from hindsight, now we're in 2025. I've been in the business 56 years as an adult. I was born into the business. I was in the business as a child. So I'm in the business 70 years. And my opinion is every time a toy company acquires a toy company, there's a good chance of success. And whenever an investor buys a toy company, it almost always fails. The investors, they're not toy guys. You need a toy guy to manage it. CBS was very intelligent because it was a public corporation. They had all that money. They bought all these toy companies, at least 14 companies that I can think of. And Jerome Fryer, as president of Gabriel, was then president of CBS Toys. And Jerome Fryer was very successful. They did it. Of course, I had personal interest because they started to call me. My business, American Plastic Equipment, was I would purchase the tooling and intellectual property rights, and then from the United States, and then license or sell or manufacture in other parts of the world. So that which was last year's American hit became next year's Colombian hit or Bolivian hit or hit in South America or in Europe or in the Middle East. So that was my model, and I had business with all of these companies. And Jerome Fryer would call me and say, Jay, we're going to condense the toy factories in one. We've got the molds that we're not going to be using any longer from child guidance. Would you like to, how many molds? I've got two groups, 200 and 300, 500 molds, how much? We made a deal. They needed us to get the molds out of the plant before they moved out. And for us, it was a great deal. So that's how our business went. Well, Jerome Fryer was operating CBS Toys very successfully. We're talking now from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. 1982, CBS purchased the Crown Jewel. The Crown Jewel, ideal toy. One of the largest, second largest toy company, was second after Marx. Marx was the largest. And they bought, in 1982, they purchased Ideal Toy, which was almost the largest and probably about the best. They had wonderful products, including, we just spoke about Evel Knievel and Rubik's Cube and so forth. So they buy it, and Jerome Fryer is the president. Personally, I have business with him. And then Jerome Fryer was most inconsiderate. He died. A young man, he died. But I don't know how old his age, but it could have been 62 or something. And all that responsibility, so CBS, being a CBS corporation and all that, they put somebody else in charge. Well, they had to put somebody in charge. So they put, instead of Jerome Fryer, they put Doug Sage in charge. I spoke with him a few times, but I don't know much. I don't know about his background. And then they put Boyd Brown in charge. Boyd Brown was highly intelligent, highly professional, brilliant man. He wasn't a toy guy. He was a corporate man, and he was in charge. And now you've got CBS Toys, Boyd Brown in charge, and Ted Turner had begun a company. I mean, we have progress, so now we have cable news, we have cable net television. Besides broadcast television, which was CBS, we had cable television. And Ted Turner came up with the idea, all news all the time, CNN. And that was a fantastic idea from 1980. By 1985, Ted Turner was vibrant, active, successful, and he had money. CNN was doing very well, and he said, wouldn't it be great if I could buy CBS TV? Because CBS TV had the best news program. CBS News. We all remember Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow and all that. Well, so he said, why don't we buy CBS, take over the news, put it with Turner, so forth. By then, William Paley, or Bill Paley, was retired, was older, not active, and there were professional employees in charge of CBS. I personally think that if CBS accepted Turner Broadcasting taking over CBS, it would have been beneficial to everybody. But instead, the CBS executives fought the hostile turnover of Ted Turner. Ted Turner was buying the stock on the market. He was gaining control. And Bill Paley came out of retirement. They got together and they decided to fight it. And what they started to do was rebuy their own stock on the market to get together as much control that they could. And they met with Ted Turner, and they paid Turner what we call, what the term we know is greenmail. Do you understand greenmail? It's buying Ted Turner's stock so that he no longer has control of CBS, and then they can run CBS as they wanted. And now with those famous financial advisors that told Mr. Paley, you got financial difficulties. What? Too much cash. The financial advisors came back. Well, we need the money for the greenmail. What we better do is, the term they used was back to core business. Too much cash, they invested in the. So CBS sold CBS Records. I think it was $2 billion, but it was a lot of money. They sold CBS Records to Sony. Made sense. They sold CBS Publishing to Harcourt, Brace, and Jovanovich. And they put up CBS Toys for sale. And they had a price of $120 million for CBS Toys, which was a fair price for CBS Toys. Ideal Toy was worth at least $54 million at the time, and the other 14 companies or so added up to the difference. They put up there were 4 bids, but none of them paid $120. Hello, Jay Horowitz. We had been doing business with CBS, with all of them, and they called me in to meet with them. And of course, I wasn't purchasing CBS Toys to operate CBS Toys. Our business was buy the molds, buy the intellectual property rights, and then deal with those. And that was our business.
So Jay Horowitz and American Plastic Equipment had a good business relationship with Ideal Toys, and later with CBS Toys, buying their obsolete equipment and molds for resale. But how did this transition into buying the assets of the entire company? Jay explains.
But I was lucky. The $120 million bid didn't go through. And I knew the 4 companies that were bidding. They even had some conversations. And then I was invited to Ideal Toy. I was given an Ideal Toy ID. So I have the Ideal Toy ID. I've saved it all these years. I've got it here. And I was taken into Ideal Toy. Bill Willenbrock took me on a tour of the plant. The most modern plant in the world, 1,100,000 square feet of the most modern processes, all automatic. They had faxes. I had never seen a fax before. When they had an order, instead of bringing it from the office to the shipping department, it was faxed. Everything was computerized. They had robots picking the orders, loading the truck. They had 54 loading docks for trucks. They could have 54 trucks at a time loading. They had room for 3 rail cars in there. They could load the rail cars. And they called me to come in. Now, my interest, I wasn't interested or capable of purchasing the entire company at $120 million to operate as a toy company. Our interest was purchasing the molds, the intellectual property rights, and the machinery and equipment. Okay? Bill Willenbrock, who was a friend of mine, he took me around and we did, Bill had been the one to turn over property to us all those years before from Ideal, from Child Guidance, from other deals. So Bill and I were friends. He took me in a golf cart around, and then Bill said to me, Jay, I can't make the deal with you, but I can steer it in your direction. I'm on the committee. He said, CBS as a corporation has some regulations. One, they must get at least 3 bids for anything. 2, they must have a time and then hold a meeting, take a vote, and approve these major deals. And it had to include CBS financing. And the committee consisted of Boyd Brown, President, Skip Mawson, COO, Art Taylor, Vice President, and Bill Willenbrock as plant manager. Bill took me around, showed me around, da-da-da-da. Okay, I'm not buying it for $120 million. It's a going operation. We get started, go back, and now, a few days later, I get a call from Bill Willenbrock. Jay, we can do the deal. Yeah, what happened? CBS just sold the real estate property of Ideal Toy Corporation to Hartz Mountain for $54 million cash. They just sold Child Guidance Division of Active Products to Hasbro for $25 million. They just sold inventory and certain active products to Viewmaster for another $5 million. They've got $84 million there, and they still have the machinery, the equipment, the molds, the rights, and that. They're going to get to their $120 million, but sometimes the parts, the sum of the parts are greater than the whole. So Bill calls me up, Jay, come, we're going to set up a meeting. Well, that's what we did. So now we're 1985, I go back, Bill shows me around, and we hold a meeting with the committee, and Boyd Brown was the president, and I was there with Boyd, Skip, Art Taylor, and Bill Willenbrock. And remember, Bill Willenbrock, he's steering it in my direction. And we sit down, we negotiate, and we agree upon the sale of the molds and the intellectual property rights that go with the Ideal products. And it wasn't everything. What it was Ideal Toy, or CBS Toys, had 6,200 molds. It's hard for me to impress you with just how many that is. It's probably the most in the world. They had 6,600 molds, of which 400 was active. The 400 was removed from my deal. They wanted to sell me 6,200 molds. We agreed upon a price and terms. And one of their stipulation was they had just sold the plant to Hartz Mountain. We need to remove the property within certain days. We agreed. Went in my favor. And then they said, Jay, we'd like to sell the entire plant to you. And of course, American Plastic Equipment, we wanted to buy used machinery and resell it at a profit. That was our business model. And they said to come back with an offer And we did it, and I got my guys together, and we visited the plant, and we inventoried, and we did everything. And we came up with a plan, what we thought it was worth and how we could do it. And the plan was to offer CBS a basic price of so many $1 billion plus a percentage of whatever we sold.
So how did this historic purchase actually play out? How did Jay's company end up purchasing the bulk of the assets of CBS Toys? Let's find out.
Well, how much are we going to offer CBS? And of course Bill Willenbrock was very helpful. So we came up with an idea. We wrote the basic plan offer, and we FedExed it in to CBS Toys. I wrote the same plan with this was a basic price. Then we wrote the same plan for a much higher price. I FedExed it to Bill Willenbrock at his home. Bill, keep this in your briefcase. When you have the meeting, if we're outbid, you've got this as a backup, take it out, and we can outbid the others. So I kind of had a safety measure. And then Bill called and said, Jay, the meeting is going to be next Monday at 4 o'clock at CBS Toy headquarters in Secaucus, New Jersey. And again, Boyd Brown is president, he'll be there. Skip Marson, COO, will be there. Art Taylor as vice president will be there. I'm on the committee and I'll be there. And it's going to be, CBS is sending the CBS representative from CBS Financial Department, and he's got to approve it, and we're going to open the bids at 4 p.m. and we stay till 5 p.m. and at 5 p.m. we vote as to who gets the bid. We must have at least 3 bids. So I said, Bill, do me a favor, keep this quiet. I don't want a lot of bids in there. We want to do the best we can. We wrote the bid, we sent it officially by FedEx. I wrote the larger bid for Bill to have it in his briefcase as a backup. And then we wrote another bid. We didn't have a fax yet. We didn't know what it was. I learned about it at CBS at that time. But we had a telex machine. And my secretary, Vicky, wrote up the entire bid just as we had it on the telex tape, leaving out the price and leaving out the bonus, which was a percentage of our sale. And we were going to hold a public auction to the toy industry in order to sell it and get as much as possible for us and for CBS. So we had the tape ready. They hold, Monday comes, they hold the meeting at 4 o'clock, and the committee is present. CBS sends in their financial man, he's present. And then they open the bids at 4 o'clock. They have our bid. They have other, I forgot something important. In order to make sure we had 3 bids, I asked a friend of mine and my father to go into CBS and to make a bid, independent of our bid, but a very low bid. So therefore our bid seemed higher. And how are they going to know that we're related? So my father sent in a written bid, my friend sent in a written bid. We had our base bid, which was higher, much higher than these bids, and Bill Willenbrock had a higher bid in his briefcase. and they opened the bids at 4 o'clock. Well, some other people found out about it, other machinery companies, and there was some other bids. So they start opening the bids at 4 p.m. They open the bid, they open the bid, they open the bid. Well, about 4:20, they went through the bids. They stopped because CBS said you gotta wait 1 hour. At 5 o'clock, you take a vote. 4:20 something, they see the bids. Mr. Willenbrock says, "Excuse me, I'm going to the men's room." He walks out. He goes out of the conference room, out of the office area, gets to a telephone. "Jay, top bid is," he gives me the number. "Jay, top participation is," he gives me the number. "See you later." Hangs up. I tell Vicky, I get the numbers. We raise the bid. We put in a new bid, a higher base bid in the telex and a higher percentage in the telex. And Vicky sends it in by telex into CBS Toy Corporation in Secaucus. And Mr. Willenbrock, just as he's leaving the men's room, walking back to the conference room, the secretary says, "Mr. Willenbrock, yes, there's another bid coming in on the telex right now." He says, "Oh, really? What time is it?" 4:35. "Well, it's still in time. Let me have it, please." It finishes coming in on the telex. He picks it up, walks into the room. "Gentlemen, we have one more bid to consider." Lays it on the table, they look at it. "Well, we know we went above the bid that beat us. We didn't have to go as high as the bid he had in the briefcase. And we had our bid, they read the bids. 5 o'clock, the CBS financial man who was in charge said, "Okay, gentlemen," wasn't ladies and gentlemen, "Okay, gentlemen, let's take a vote." And they agreed, and it was, I remember it was Skip Marson that said, "We voted, and let's take the American plastic equipment vote." And it just so happens I brought with me the letter under which CBS immediately sent us the letter accepting the bid in writing. And I brought with me the contract that we purchased the molds under from CBS at that time. So thanks to Mr. Bill Willenbrock's help, we were able to, and this was in the benefit of CBS also, because CBS only wanted to get the highest bid possible. So they raised our bid, we raised our bid, and CBS got more money for the plant, and that's how we purchased, that's how we acquired the CBS toy plant and the CBS toy molds, within which it includes the Ideal Toy Rubik's Cube molds, which you can now visit and see right here in the Toy and Train Museum. And it was not only the Rubik's Cube molds, it was 6,200 molds, including the 12 molds for Rubik's Cube. And that's how we got the ownership of the Rubik's Cube molds. And we thank Mr. Willenbrock for his steering it in the right direction.
So now you've heard the rest of the story from a man who actually lived it, and arguably was the main impetus behind this incredible acquisition. And if you want to complete your Rubik's Cube knowledge, you're going to have to make your way to Wheeling, West Virginia, to the Kruger Street Toy and Train Museum to experience this exhibit and to see this historic Ideal Toys tooling for yourself. Visit our website for more details, and we'll see you next time on Kruger Street Stories. Well, that's it for today's episode of Kruger Street Stories. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, press our circular logo on this page to subscribe, and click on the thumbnail to watch this next episode we know you'll also enjoy.